go into the attack. So the attacking players we got are Aiden Billhart, Landon Johnson, and Emiliano Terzaghi. You still have Tony Pineda on here. I don't understand why. Darwin Espinal, Josh Kirkland, and Nick with the best last name, Tacos. Which, by the way, whoever are doing tacos at the stadium, please have a taco named after him. He's admitted to college, give him the NIL deal. I'm just saying. It's there. But yeah, what Matt?
I would probably put Hayden in that group too. Realistically, okay. I think he's more likely to play one of those positions than one of our traditional midfield positions.
Okay. So Hayden Anderson. Yeah. All right. Another tweener. There's a few tweeners in this team. There's a few tweeners.
I'd give this group an A-. I think of all this, I would say there isn't like Landon Johnson scored a gorgeous goal on the last home
preseason game. That cutback. That was nice.
Yeah, that was nice. Beautiful. Upper 90 curler. There isn't a player in this group that I would say offers nothing. And that's a little harsh to put on like academy kids and like sort of backups, but like there are fewer untested, unknown quantities in this group, and some key additions with resumes that show that they could add to this team, which across the group as a whole. So you have to hope they're going to deliver on that. We have no way of knowing. We have no way of predicting that because, again, they did score a lot of goals in preseason. But like on paper, this is the group that was strengthened the most and like doesn't necessarily have a enormous drop off the way some of the other positions do.
Yeah, because I think there is the drop. I think if Bill Hart is healthy, you have the clear Darwin, Emmy, Bill Hart for front line, and then I think it's a massive drop.
Okay.
For the second group, right? Like, I think guys like Anderson or Kirkland, it could be serviceable. Like I think this year needs to be the year that Landon makes the jump, a little bit.
I agree.
We've seen flashes in 2023. Last year I think was an absolute busted year for him in every way possible. Like we need to see him be able to make contributions. That's not necessarily saying like break into the starting lineup, but be a
more assists. Like
someone who actually makes an impact when you get on the field.
Yeah.
Right. Like even if it doesn't actually show up on the stat line, like are you positively impacting games? Because haven't seen that yet. Really. Yeah. This is year 3 as a pro. Like at a certain point, you're still young, but got to see the progress being made. Otherwise, I think Kirkland. He's a good hustle guy, and hustle guys can have a spot in USL 1, right? But he's a hustle guy. I think Hayden's probably in that same general style, hustle guy. I'm not counting anything from the new academy kids. If something comes of them, great. If not, didn't really think anything would. But and then Darwin, like he's a different kind of attacking player than we've had before. He's not a burner. So he's not going to, just bust the wings or anything like that. But he can carry the ball. So he's probably the closest analog to what Vinyals had. But he's more of a forward attacking player than a midfielder in that regard. So especially at the beginning of the year, how him and Emmy are able to connect, because that was the thing with Emmy last year. Like when he came back, was he all the way back to his prior state? No, of course not. But you still see some flashes. But he was left on an island so often, And I don't care who you are. If you're stranded like that, you're not going to get so much done.
Well, especially since he and Chandler had such different profiles. The team was used to playing when you're used to playing with one type of striker and then you put in someone who has completely different profile and the team has chemistry around one. It's also hard to, Emmy's not the guy who's going to be in the box putting headers in. So he can, but that's not, the number one attribute you should be trying to exploit. So there also was that problem of like, okay, now we have to set him up differently than the guy who we've been playing with for 6 months.
Yeah, so I guess I'll give this group like I'll be nice. I'll round up B+.
Okay.
Based on the strength of the presumed preferred top 3.
All right, so I'm gonna be the optimistic. I'm gonna give this group an A, just because of the fact that we have a suitable left winger and a suitable right winger.
Mm.
Well,
It's been
broken.
It's been a long time
On paper.
On paper. Not politicalized. Because God, that's an issue. Did you say thank you? Which is so weird. But yeah, like seeing Darwin, I mean, God, just think like what he did against us in the U.S. Open Cup, and having that now in Richmond, and just the possibilities of him. My dream lineup is him on the left, Bill Hart on the right, Emmy in the middle, and just seeing that kind of work. It feels a lot more balanced. I will say that as well. Like I would say maybe the last 2 years or so, it always felt like an imbalance. Definitely last year we was like, all right, we got Bill Hart, we got Emmy. I don't know who's on the left, right? And the years before that, like it was like we had left, we didn't know who was on the right. I think this is the first time Darren's had like 3 attackers that was like, all right, it feels balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt, to your point, like if Emmy could get someone else that can help him out, like that's how you get the best out of Emmy. Because if it's just him up there by himself, it's not going to work. But if you get someone up close to Emmy, to help him out, kind of make the backline be worried about another option, I think that'd be better. So just on the strength of balancing out the front 3, I give it an